right. Good morning, folks. We're going to wait just a minute for a couple of folks to log in, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Love it, yeah. I feel like I saw most of those folks all evening long at the city council meeting.
Oh,
Yeah. We spent a lot of time together yesterday, counselors.
I can't tell if you're wearing the same outfit, but I think I am.
He just rolled up his sleeping bag.
I saw, I get the texts. Why don't you hand me, is that one still working? This is the, that one's yours? This one, okay. Yeah.
Mayor, just so you get the full experience, I think I sent it to you in a text earlier, but we passed along around some strategic, like parliamentary motions to throw in there, some non-germane things, just to keep you on your toes as chair, so you get the full experience of like a city council or county commissioner.
Oh man, yeah, no, I was like, you guys are. It's such. I gotta say, council has always, at least since I've been here, been very well oiled. Like I'm impressed with the three chairs that I've seen. Composed, and what's his name?
I'm not sure we would agree.
Is always there, you guys do a really good job. In the Senate we use Mason's rules, which is because that's not what council uses, right?
No, we have our own made up rules, and then we defer to Robert.
Yeah. So when I got into the legislature, I was like all Mr. Roberts rules and excited, and like nothing worked, and everyone was like laughing at me, and they're like, like legislators use Mason's rules, and then somebody like gave me the book as a joke, and and of course it's worthless though, because other than the legislature, like no one uses Mason's rules. So
You're right.
yeah, so I'm out of practice and confused. But that's a good segue. We'll go ahead and I think get started. I know we're missing one commissioner, but we'll kind of use the 5-minute rule, and hopefully she'll be here soon, and we'll begin with some pleasantries. So and also let me just check too, because I do think Margarita, you're on it. Are we expecting Julie? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay, let's just check. Dave, how's your waiting room?
And there's Commissioner O'Malley.
Great. All right, well, let's go ahead and begin. And so we thought actually sort of in lieu of a roll call, we'll call this meeting to order and do introductions. I think everyone knows each other, but just in case, especially for staff and so forth, why don't we just start? Everyone's screen's different, but Lisa, why don't you start? We'll just go.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. I'm Lisa Uval, Deputy Director of Homelessness and Housing with Family and Community Services. Excited to be here this morning.
All right, great. I'm just going across my screen. Commissioner Piscotti?
Yeah. Hi, Commissioner, Bernalillo County Commissioner Charlene Piscotti, and it's good to see everybody this morning.
All right, Margarita?
Good morning, everyone. Margarita Chavez Sanchez. I'm the Director of the Department of Behavioral Health Services for Bernalillo County.
Dr. Richards.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, everyone else. I'm Mike Richards, Interim Executive Vice President of the Health Sciences Center.
Councilor Benton.
Good morning. Isaac Benton. I'm the Councilor for District 2, which encompasses the center city east of the river.
All right, Councilor Davis.
Good morning, Pat Davis, City Councilor for that other part of Central, just east of Ike and the UNM port.
All right, President Stokes.
Hi, I'm Garnet Stokes, President at UNM.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Oops.
Oh, you're muted, Debbie. This is a good roll call purpose on Zoom though. Let's make sure you're unmuted on our end, Debbie. Okay,
Can you
try
hear
again. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Debbie O'Malley, County Commissioner, District 1.
Great, and I see Manager Julie down there. Julie, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Julie Baca, County Manager, and also I have Commissioner-elect Adrienne Barbeau with me. So she's hiding. I don't know if you can see, but we're social distancing.
Awesome, welcome. Okay, David is helping just kind of do IT. Works up here with Lawrence, David Parkinson. Doug Small's on. I'm not sure why, but he's the backup if there's IT problems. Yeah. Also from the mayor's office. And you guys, Cheryl, want to do you too?
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Carol Pierce, Director of Family and Community Services.
Hi there, Quinn Donne, Gateway Center Coordinator with Family and Community Services.
And good morning, everyone. Lawrence Rail, Chief Operations Officer for the Mayor.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And first, just a big thank you to everyone, all the 3 entities for working together to make this a real thing. This is the first official meeting of our Homeless Coordinating Council. And I'm very excited that we are off and running. And I know even though we've had Corona and all sorts of challenges, just appreciate everyone's effort to make this possible, despite all those challenges. And so it's a reflection, I think, of how all of our organizations really prioritize this issue. Also in a new way. So, for us, this is truly a demonstration of collaboration. And I think in many ways, right, something that all of us individually is like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we all worked together on homelessness? And so this is great because we are actually going to do this. And so, I would also mention a couple of other things just around, we know that we've got to get a community-wide framework for really strengthening all our services and the experience that the unsheltered have here in Albuquerque. And so I also really just appreciate the idea that now that we're doing this together in a collaborative way, we can also look at that big picture and take that systems approach that I think we've always wanted to do. And there's also some urgency around this. And I think for most people, there's no surprise. But, as far as we can tell based on our various partners and data and so forth, obviously homelessness continues to be a challenge in our town. But, Corona has been, I think, compared to other cities, we've done an outstanding job. And when I say city, I mean metro area, city and county. So for our metro, really, I mean, most cities have had massive outbreaks in their homeless population. They don't have anywhere necessarily to go, especially if they don't have somewhere where there's a doctor. So, we now have that at the West Side Shelter. So we're not really here to kind of do a deep dive on what's happening with, homelessness during Corona, although that can be a future topic. But at least, and I think everyone on the call has heard this, we are really doing much, much better than other communities. Now, that still means obviously there's lots of challenges, but I do just want to give credit, especially to all the staff who actually work on this, and Carol and her team, and Margarita and your team, and our UNM partners. Go ahead, Carol.
If I could, just because this is such a really moment to be proud, really collectively as a community. And we're grateful for Dr. Laura Parajon from UNM, who we appointed as a medical director, a phenomenal public health leader that has really helped us in all of our partnerships. And also just from the beginning, really want to thank you, Councillor Benton, as well as Councillor Jones, who's not with us, but to really have the vision when we opened up community centers to desegregate out at the West Side, to get older people with comorbidities out of the West Side. And that kind of action really helped us minimize the spread of COVID. So just really great examples of coming together to minimize the spread. Lots to be proud of. I think at the last count, we've had 3 COVID cases, I believe, at West Side. I could be off by 1 or 2, but that's all. Good screening, good partnership, and coming together on this issue. So thank you.
Really appreciate that, partners. And, the other thing I would add on this is we know you know, early on we were getting a lot of questions about, well, you know, why are we still taking people to shelters and things like this, because the CDC guidance and so forth. And, you know, for us, the answer was actually always clear. It's because we had a healthier, safer place to take people voluntarily, of course. And that's something most cities did not have. And so that's why the guidance was, you know, just leave them in Coronado Park or whatever. And so actually, it's, you know, for us, it's rare where we're actually ahead of the national guidance. And so in this case, we were, and it's a credit to everyone Cheryl just mentioned. I mean, Carol.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, so I really know her. Really, we actually do work together.
Thanks, Tom. No.
So a couple of other points on urgency, and then we can get into our agenda. You know, there is a little 60-day clause in our agreement that we signed, and so that's really pursuant to issues around the guiding principles, you know, sort of creative problem solving and respective collaboration and so forth. But it's also really speaks to this concept that we need to map out the overall system picture. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but that is a little bit of a, you know, sort of deadline, again, self-imposed. We all put this in there, but we need to start getting to work on that aspect. And then of course there is the, you know, a reminder, the voters in Albuquerque anyway, of course, did explicitly vote for, you know, sort of the gateway concept. And so we do need obviously to sort of demonstrate action on that pretty soon, I think, just to honor, and of course council voted on that as well, and I signed it, and then the voters voted on it. So that one we'll have to address pretty quick as well. So there are a couple of things we want to do today. First, I want to touch on, you just kind of reiterate some of the options where we're at on some of these issues, which is no surprise to anyone on this call, other than our newcomers. But, and then we'll talk about just some logistics for how we want to organize. And then really the goal is to set up our subcommittees. And that's also where we can hopefully have some good discussion and actually get some names and fill in some blanks around the subcommittees. So I think you've seen the agenda before, and then so we'll follow that, and then we'll wrap up with like our game plan for the next like the next 6 months, sort of going into the end of the year. So with that, let me just touch on some of the you know, updates with respect to, for example, the sort of Gateway Center. And again, nothing new. We had a couple of ideas early on. I think now we're realizing that just by default, we've got to look at Coronado or something in the area. We're open to multiple sites. We're open to different options. These, again, just happen to be defaults that were just, for all the reasons everyone knows, proximity to providers and available land and things of this nature. So certainly Coronado Park and associated area. And then, of course, there's the Loveless building, the old, I always call it the old Loveless. I'm sure it has a new name that someone should really use, but I've never heard it used. So the one on Gibson. And we'll talk about some options with respect to that. But, you know, as a quick update, you know, the state is renting a big portion for Corona overflow. And that actually was not really being used and not being needed in June. And then July happened, and all of a sudden now they're like, we are keeping this for a while. But that doesn't really actually change any decision on our end. In other words, they're a leasee of space. So it doesn't really impact us, but just, you know, they were actually ready to pull out early, and then they decided that obviously they need to stick around. So our various subcommittees will kind of flesh out the details there, but there's really not any concrete new information on either of those two options. And again, we're open to other options that might be available too. So I think that subcommittee is going to really dive into that as soon as next week. Okay, now also we are working a little bit of an op-ed. We do want to take this opportunity because we're all here. UNM, I think, kind of wrote it. We like it. Yeah. And we just sent it to the county. So Carol, you want to do an update on that?
Yeah, thank you. And this op-ed came out of, again, our ongoing collaboration on public health and really with UNM. And so as we all know, housing is a key piece. We've got to address housing. If we want to address homelessness, they go hand in hand. And especially with our Corona times, we've really got to take a very sharp look at eviction prevention and what we can do. So that was the genesis behind that op-ed. We really thank our partners at UNM that took the draft, and we've been meeting to really fine tune that op-ed. And I think, President Stokes or Dr. Richards, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was looking like it might be Vice Chancellor Art Kaufman to submit that. And then we'd look at who on the county side made sense, Julie, and I know you just got that last evening, Julie, as well as then we'll look at the city side. But I think the real beauty in this, it will be submitted to the Journal on all three entities that show that we're walking hand in hand on this very important issue. And I think our hope is to really get that submitted to the Journal this week because of what's happening right now because of eviction prevention, the closure of the federal moratorium and things like that.
All right, so why don't we do this? We have next up just some logistics, and then we'll talk about the committees, but let me pause here and just allow kind of for introductory remarks if any organization or folks want to chime in, and no worries if not. And oh, you know, Zoom, we're all used to Zoom. You can either wave at me or you can click the hand raise button by clicking on the participant little logo thing, and we'll call on you. All right, yes, Julie, County Manager Julie Morgan-Stockton, go ahead.
Hi there. So I think it's a great op-ed. Good job. And I like the fact that we're all doing it together. So I think that really speaks volumes about, you know, just the fact that we're working together and we're trying to address this issue. I think the only thing is, like, if you all wouldn't mind adding what the county is doing regarding evictions. And it's, you know, we're distributing motel vouchers, and, you know, I won't get into everything that we do, but maybe just a sentence or two. But other than that, I love that we are doing this together. And I don't know if anybody else, if Commissioner O'Malley or Commissioner-elect Barboa had any thoughts. They just got it this morning, by the way, and I'm sorry, I apologize. But that's kind of my 2 cents. And thank you for taking this on.
Julie, can you
So,
send that to
Mayor,
me as well?
This is Mike Richards.
Yeah,
oh,
try
hi,
and
Commissioner
use the,
Piscotti.
just so you know how Zoom works, try and use the old hand raise button if you can. But I see I've got Charlene, Commissioner Piscotti, and then Dr. Richards. Commissioner?
Oh, no, I haven't seen the op-ed. I was just asking County Manager Julie to send it to me. Thanks.
All right, Dr. Richards?
So thank you, Mary. Do we know who is going to be on behalf of the city and the county?
Who's signing it?
Carol?
Well, we were trying to get it kind of parallel partners, if you will. So I think if it were the President Stokes, for example, was signing it, would be the mayor and Julie Morgan-Stockton, kind of like entities. I think if it's Vice Chancellor Art Kaufman, it'll probably either be me or Lisa as signatories as well. And then we'd look to the county. It's probably Margarita. I don't want to make the decision for the county, but my guess it might be Margarita. So just trying to get kind of the same levels, if you will. I don't know how else to say that.
But if everyone wants to sign on, that's fine too. Like literally, we could just have the whole homeless.
Oh, cool. Ooh, that's a nice idea.
All right, we'll let the teams decide. Okay, other questions or comments before we move on to our next item? Yes, Julie. And then Ike, I got you next.
What did they say?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just weighing in on the fly on the wall, but here to say I agree. I think it's a great op-ed, but if we could, as a reader, I would like to see what the county's done as well.
So that's Commissioner-elect Barboa, just in case.
We'll get that.
Yeah, easy.
Okay, and I apologize, Commissioner Piscotti. Like I say, I just got it last night and I sent it to you. So I would like for her to have an opportunity, as well as Commissioner O'Malley, to review it. I just handed it to Commissioner-elect Barboa. So I think that's, like I say, my 2 cents, and then I'll relay whatever it is that you know, we'll discuss it and we'll put in a little bit. But I think it's great.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Benton.
Just quickly, full disclosure, Art Kaufman was my family doctor for 2 decades, so I think very highly of him. I kind of like the idea of our ground troops like Art and Carol, as opposed to the elected or higher ups signing this, because I think that they are doing the daily work, and I respect that, and I think the public respects that.
Sounds good. Okay, anyone else on this item? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll add in the county material, and then it sounds like we're leaning towards staff, but we'll let staff decide. So, okay, logistics. Some of the stuff's pretty basic, but some also are just important for us so we can stay organized. We'll use, obviously, Robert's Rules of Order kind of as needed, and that's normally the tradition, I think, on some of these cross councils. So, when we need to vote and so forth, we'll use that, but we will use it as needed. So, and per MOU, we do need to elect a vice chair. Which we should actually vote on. So I'll pause just for a second if people want to think and reflect if you'd like to be vice chair, and then we will open the floor for nominations. Feel free to nominate yourself, and each nomination should get a second. So would anyone be up for some extra punishment as vice chair?
Not all jumping up.
Mayor, if I could just make a comment.
Sure.
I think having the mayor as the chair was something we worked out originally as the city had started this process, at least on that side. But I think it would be great if we had somebody from the county that could be our partner in this. At the end of the day, I think that's where most of the staffing is going to live. And we know that UNM's commitment has been clear from the very beginning. But especially in terms of getting the committee work done, I think it'd be really important. And so I wonder if some of our friends at the county would be willing to step up and do that so we can show a partnership and leadership.
I like it. All right, Julie, is that a self-nomination or a comment?
I'm going to defer to my bosses here. So if any of them would like to be the vice chair, I certainly will support that. And if they would like me to serve in that capacity, I would be willing, and it would be an honor to do it. So whatever you all would like to do, commissioners.
This is Commissioner O'Malley. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Debbie.
Thank you. I hadn't been asked, but I would like to nominate Vice Chair Charlene Piscotti if she wants to do it.
Okay, Charlene, you get nominated.
Yeah, I'd be happy to serve in that. I'd be happy to serve in that capacity, and just knowing that I will definitely be calling on you, Commissioner O'Malley and Margarita, for your input. So yes, I'd be happy to take on that role.
We'll take that as a second. So, so we have a nomination and a second for Commissioner Piscotti. Any others interested? All right. So I think what we'll do is we'll just see if we can do this by consent. So I just move that Commissioner Piscotti become the vice chair. And could I get a second for that motion?
I second.
Okay. And we'll go for consent. Is there any objection to that? All right, congratulations, Commissioner. Great. Okay. All right, so moving on. A couple of things for, at least in terms of working for this sort of term, which roughly we'll say is fiscal year oriented. Agendas and documents should be, of course, sent out 72 hours before in advance. And agenda items, documents will then be sent to everyone else 48 hours before. And I think this is a key here. Everyone I think knows her, but Deb Bassan is going to be kind of the organizer of those types of documents. She's actually out this week I think,
No,
right?
she's here.
Oh, she's here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anyway, so coordinate all material through Deb. I think everyone has their email, her email and phone number, but it's dbazan, B-A-Z-A-N @cabq.gov, and we'll send that out as well. Okay, and then there's also a designee provision in the MOU, and so if individuals do want to assign a designee, just let Deb Bazan know in advance of the meeting, and we'll also take designee identifications at the end of each meeting. So you can either do it like in a meeting you're at, where you're like, hey, designee so-and-so, or you can email Deb. And, you know, we would certainly ask that the designee always be the same. So in other words, you know, it's either the person on the committee or you have the designee for at least a term, right? So for a year. And then if you need to change designees, but what we don't want to have is like revolving door voting members. So if you could honor that, we'd really appreciate it. Okay, now, and the other one, and we've learned, Pat knows this, some of the, actually probably all the elected officials know this, but some of these kind of coordinating councils have had challenges with quorums. So I do want to speak a little bit about at least our intent to deal with quorums. What we'd like to do is, you know, in the event there's not a quorum, the meeting will still proceed on an informational basis. And so we'll have the meeting, share the info, etc. Obviously, there won't be voting taking place or anything of that nature, but we do intend on having the meeting regardless. And then we'll pick up whatever voting needs to happen at the subsequent meeting. And so that's how we plan on dealing with quorum. Okay, now I think with that, the real meat and potatoes today is going through our committees. So I'm going to begin by handing it over to Lawrence and Carol to give an overview. And maybe why don't we give an overview and then we'll go back through each one, because I think we got to do a lot of fill in the blank on committees. The more progress we can make on this as our group, the better off we're going to be, so that we don't have to kind of do this over email and be waiting on names from different entities and so forth. So let's start with Lawrence Rail.
Thanks, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to have David do a share screen so that you all can go through the document as we're looking through it. For most of us who have been working before on creating the council, you've seen many of these topics, if you will, as part of our original discussions. So it won't, some of these committees won't be new to you, but maybe for others they might be. So the idea here is to structure the council with committees so that they report up to the council on various progress as we move through making some of these recommendations to the council. And then obviously those recommendations go to each of the individual bodies of the individual entities that are part of this council. And so for purposes of discussion, and this is, I want to make sure I caveat this is all our own recommendations from our conversations over the last 5 to 6 months that we've been working on this, or at least it feels like it's been that long. It probably has only been like 4 months, but so these are our recommendations to try and just spur the conversation today to fill in the slots. And so as you can see, I'm going to have Carol go through each of the committees because Carol's was responsible for putting most of them together. And again, please make sure that you know, or make sure you all know, if this is the wrong person or you'd like to see someone else, we're happy to change the membership. But this was our stab at trying to get a structure in place.
Okay. So high level, 30,000 foot level, there's 5 committees that we're proposing, and I'll be able to tell you, to dive into a little bit as we go. And we really had a lens to integrate existing committees if appropriate, and being explicit if we have committees that aren't integrated. So I'll weave that in as I go. And I just want to confirm everybody received this yesterday from David, if you want to pull it up on your email as well. So the first committee is on gateway facilities, and that's really to look at the land and the facilities to make our system work. Proposing Lawrence be the chair, and we obviously want a county member and a UNM member on there. And I think I'll just run through it, and then if we have questions, we can come back at the end. The second committee is our homeless service system. The asterisk there is to say that the service work group that's been quite diligent in meeting, which included Margarita and Rodney, Quinn, Lisa, myself, and Nicole Taylor from City Council. I'm folding that in there. So that's why I came up with Rodney's name and Nicole's. We're folding that committee in there. So this committee is really looking at what those community needs are and how we minimize the impact on surrounding neighborhoods. So the folks that we also listed there on the neighborhoods are people that we've worked with in the broad areas that the mayor mentioned, whether it's a Wells Park area or over near Gibson Medical Center. The provider group is a group that we've been meeting with over the years. These are our people that make up the homeless system that have lots of experience and lots to add. So those are our proposed members for the second homeless service system. The third group is housing, which I know we all are I'm very excited about that. We're proposing Lisa, and we said Betty from the county. Of course, again, I did not talk to Betty, so I put her name in there. Quinn, and then we think somebody from our planning department from the city, that would make good sense. And then of course we want other county and UNM folks there. Now with Lisa's work and Quinn's work, we did name some of our core housing partners in the community that I know all entities work with. It is this group, once this is formed, that we want to launch very explicitly working on developing a housing strategic plan based on the wonderful Urban Institute report that all of you got in recent months, to really seize the moment to come up with a response on that. We have secured a facilitator, John Ross. He's ready to go. Once that committee's ready to go, we are launching an easy to complete survey to populate, to just start, hit the ground running, if you will. So that's housing. The fourth one is coordinated street outreach. So we've had an ongoing coordinated street outreach group. These are all the great folks on the street doing wonderful work, have been very instrumental on curbing the spread of COVID as well. And they were a subcommittee of the Homeless Advisory Council, which the mayor started about 2+ years ago. We are folding that group into this coordinated street outreach, which we think makes sense. We are proposing that Soshi Campos Biggs, she works here at the city doing a lot of great work, that she would be the chair. We could also propose she co-chairs that with somebody from another entity. We've got a few names there, and then our outreach team. Lastly, the youth housing continuum. So we think this is an extremely important piece that early on, when the mayor began talking about the Gateway Center and the need to do something explicit about homelessness, Lisa and I, it was before Quinn's time, met with all of our key stakeholders out in the community. And very consistently we heard, not only do we need to do better for homeless individuals, we are missing the boat when it comes to 18 to 25-year-olds. They're not going to the homeless shelter. In some ways it's inappropriate. They're preyed upon. It's just not a good scene. So we think this is a very important gap that needs to be addressed. And we're very fortunate that Quinn joins us with some really good experience addressing that population. So we've put some names there, and then preliminary meetings have occurred with CYFD and the state. They see this gap in our community, and they're ready to play big time with us here in our community. So that concludes the fifth committee. And then I just think it's really important. So I've got some language there about the Homeless Advisory Committee, and Deputy Uval has faithfully chaired that committee. And that will continue, because that continues to be, I think, an important voice for the community. It's an open meeting. People come, they share their thoughts and ideas, and that council will continue. So I'll pause and see what kinds of questions folks might have.
Yeah, so questions on the structure, or if entities want to kind of dive in and mention some names on committees, we can take it really either direction. Hit the hand raise button, or wave
that off if you want, so we can see everybody.
And if there's also too, if there's nothing initially, we can just go back one by one and make sure. But I see Margarita, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I have a quick question, and my hand raised piece has just disappeared from me now that I'm in full screen. Just a quick question for clarification. I sent David a quick chat message because I don't think I received this document ahead of time. If you can send it my way, and then I just have a clarifying question. So you have names of staff listed on the on each of the committees, and then you have stakeholders listed. Are you looking to have those stakeholders also be active members of those committees, or are those more just like technical advisors that attend as needed, or just kind of clarification on what that looks like?
Margarita, that's a great question. No, we want those stakeholders to be active members. If we're going to hit the home run on this one, we've got to have everybody front and center, attending, hearing their voice, hearing a variety of opinions. So great question. No, we want people. It's maybe to say it's an appointment is a little too formal, but I mean, I guess that's a question, Mayor, because we want folks at this meeting. This is not just, we hope just that we have a good chunk of people show up. That's how we'll make really good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
we definitely want to have a name and an organization, not just an organization.
Got it. So a suggestion I may make that really shows kind of the continuity and the collaboration in the work that we're doing on the county side is also appointing a representative to each of those committees from some of the BHI subcommittees, right? So if the chair of the BHI housing subcommittee could also be on the housing committee, or something along that line, because I think that really shows that intersectionality between the BHI side and what's kind of been vetted in that space. What we have heard on the county side, and I guess I'll just speak for myself and not others that are on the call, but is that there is why are we starting a whole new advisory committee when we're doing some of this work here as well? And so that may be a way that we merge that and show that it is kind of collaborative in that way.
Margarita, that's great. And we heard that as well on the city council side. Some of that concern was expressed, but I think that's a great way to integrate them. And so just send those names to us. We'll put them in here.
Very good.
That's good. Thank you.
Councilor Benton.
Yeah, I really like that suggestion. Thank you, Margarita. Also, I just think in terms of the chairs of the committee, I knew that since we drafted up that structure that it was kind of somewhat focused on the city, but it would seem to make sense that we have either co-chair or vice chair of each committee, that we include the three partners, one of the three partners on each of those leadership of those committees. And of course, you know, leadership includes being available to step in when the chair can't serve and all of that. But I like the, you know, just like that consideration to be made that the UNM and the county have named chairs or vice chairs as well of those committees. Thanks.
Okay, let's just have each committee pick a vice chair, and say it can't be the same entity. So I like that idea a lot too. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other comments on this? So these were good structural points. Maybe let's just go, I think we have enough time to just touch on one by one to see if we can always do this offline, but if we can solve a few online, it'll help us move a little faster. And then we can start with Gateway. Is there, and again, we can punt, but if there is a member from the county or UNM that we could pick now, that would be great. But also understand if you want to wait a little bit.
Mayor, I would like a chance to confer with Mike Richards. We were talking offline about wanting to go through these committees and figure out who to suggest. So if you could give us 24 to 48 hours to figure that out, and then we'll get that information to you quickly.
Okay, sounds good. County, you want to do the same, or does someone have particular? Okay, Julie's giving me they'll do the same. Okay, So I think with that, if we could, just in the spirit of end of the week, if we could get names, and so both Margarita on the behavioral health interlacing, and also for committee members from the county and UNM, send it to us by Friday so that we can kind of start scheduling for next week. That'd be great. All righty, let's check any other items on these committees then. Yes, Julie.
Can you email me that document on the committees? Just because I want to make sure we get the committee assignments done. Thank you.
Coming your way. Okay, I think with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item. And so really the two last things to touch on before we can take up any other items folks have. The first is just meeting schedule. We would like, and I think this has been sent out, if not, we'll send it out, you know, sort of best practices is to have the same time, same day. And so people can kind of schedule around it. We are proposing basically Tuesdays from 9 to 10, which is this slot, obviously, every other week. And the theory being the off week is when the committees would meet. And so we think this will keep us on task, but also give us a time for those committees to kind of report up and report out every 2 weeks. So that schedule is in front of you, but it basically just starts August 18th and then goes every other week, Tuesday from 9 to 10. And we just ran it through, similar to how the city and county do it. We ran it to the end of the year, just so we have it on our calendar. And at some point in November or whatever, we can look at the beginning of 2021. But this way people can put it on their calendar and plan around it. So, and location, I think for now will always be Zoom until further notice. And for, I guess now, since the city is chairing it, that someone from the city will send you out the Zoom information 72 hours in advance. Okay, so any questions on meeting schedule? All right, pretty straightforward. I think then we do, before I get to our last item, we have a little bit of time, which is it's also okay to end early, but are there miscellaneous items that anyone would like to bring up? And let me just check with the city end first. Anything we missed or, okay. Other miscellaneous items folks have? All right, so I think we know the committees have lots of work to do, so we can focus on that. Not seeing any miscellaneous items, I'm just going to move to our last little item. If you do want to identify a designee now, you're welcome to, or you can email it to Deb Bassam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and identify Lawrence as the chair's designee. So he'll fulfill that role for at least this year. So if I'm not here, it'll be Lawrence. And anyone else want to identify a designee? It's okay if not. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, I think with that, we'll do a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Okay. Hearing no objection, we'll get on about our day. It's good to see everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Meeting's adjourned.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.